I'm getting some breaking news of a riot headed by T.A. Patrick Hickey for equal pay rights, but we'll get to that in a second. First, after this critical election for the Democrats across the nation on November 4th, the Senate race in Alaska finally comes to a close. I'm your host, Lauren Grush, and this is the Grush Rush. To talk about this, as always, we have our excellent political analyst here with us, Republican strategist and GOP donor Ryan Martinez.
No problem, Lauren.
And community organizer Anthony Noto, author of the book Abort This: How Abortion is a God-Given Right.
Oh, Lauren, you caught me reading the New Time, if you haven't noticed. Barack Obama, yeah.
All right, so let's discuss Alaska and the fairly surprising results. Ted Stevens officially lost his bid for a 7th term this week in a close race with Anchorage Mayor Mark Begich. We were all wondering how his 7 convictions just before the election were going to affect this race. Obviously not as much as some thought. And of course, Don Young, the longtime Republican incumbent of the House, did get by yet again, defeating Ethan Berkowitz with 50% of the vote to Berkowitz's 45%.
That's right, Lauren. I think Ryan underestimated President-elect Obama and his blue wave across the nation. Your prediction wasn't too far off, but Don definitely didn't get 54% of the vote. And of course, we're upset about Berkowitz's loss, but in such a Republican state like Alaska, we're really proud to have gotten as far as we could. We'll take the Senate seat and the presidency and be happy with that. Hey, Ryan, you remember when you said the voters would see through these misunderstandings concerning Vetco?
Hey, Anthony, remember when you predicted your book would be a bestseller?
That's not important, Ryan. America wasn't ready for my genius.
Sure. Look, Lauren, we are very proud of Don Young for pulling off his decisive win that so many people doubted, and Senator Stevens, a man who everyone has underestimated time and time again. I think you predicted, Lauren, that Begich would take 52% of the vote. Of course, we know that's not the case, and Begich's lead is only about 1%. That's not exactly a mandate for a blue wave. If the Alaskan Independent Party didn't throw nearly 5% of the vote away, I think we could have gotten through. And let's not forget that the senator reserves any right to call for a recount in December and to petition a pardon from President Bush on all charges if they stick.
That's correct, but Stevens did already concede the election to Begich this week, and on Thursday delivered his farewell address to the Senate, yielding the floor for the final time, on which, it should be said, he did receive a standing ovation from many of his colleagues, breaking with the Senate tradition. But although the House and Senate win margins are not exactly what I expected, the results were. But tell me, why the split result in Alaska? Why did the state vote overwhelmingly for John McCain for president, gave the Republican House member yet another chance, but now elected the first Democratic U.S. Senator in 30 years?
Well, I think all the reasons we discussed last time have a lot to do with it. I mean, it was a terrible year for Republicans, George Bush remains as unpopular as ever, and the economic crisis is being felt by Americans everywhere. Maybe if some Republicans left the country club every now and then, we would realize that we're in a recession. But I think there's a short-term factor to look at as well. I mean, I'm sure Alaskan Republicans were pretty excited to have Sarah Palin on the ticket for president, which got them to the polls. If that wasn't the case, I'm sure Donnie Young would be seeing his last days as well. But we got to look at the trends. The people will blame the incumbent when things go bad, especially when there is a clear alternative to bring them about the change they want. Mark Begich was able to go out there, convince the Alaskan people that Ted Stevens is not the kind of person they want representing them in Washington, and showed that his record and success in Anchorage qualifies him to do a much better job. Mark Begich and Democrats across the country did it, and they did it well. America spoke clearly, maybe not as clearly in Alaska, but give us 2 or 4 years, and pretty soon Republicans in Washington and Alaska will be as rare as polar bears.
Actually, if you weren't so ignorant about the real Alaska, Anthony, you would know polar bears are numerous in the state, and Republicans won't be going anywhere soon, I assure you that. Lauren, I would argue that there's still an incumbency advantage in Alaska. Let's not forget that Begich only won by 1%. 1%. Sarah Palin remains immensely popular in the state, and Don Young is doing just fine. Look, in a historical context, Alaska has gone Democrat only once in almost 50 years, and the last Democratic senator they had was close to 30 years ago. Everyone knows that we have cycles in elections, and Republicans will, for the first time in a while get to play offense. Give the Democrats their day in the sun. Let's see if they can deliver on their big promises. I don't think they will. And Mark Bejic should not get too comfortable in Stevens' chair. This blip in Alaska won't happen again.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to have to stop y'all before you're at each other's throats. We must sign off, but I want to say thank you for clearing up the Alaskan congressional races that truly have been a mess. Next week on our show, we have the acclaimed author of the book Party Polarization in Congress, Sean Theriault. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited to have this genius in our newsroom. This has been another exciting and heated segment of the Grush Rush. You've just been grushed. Thanks for watching.